Just for viewers who may not be familiar, Nikita Zimov and his dad, Sergey Zimov, they're scientists working on Pleistocene Park, which is going to be a massive project where large megafauna, large animals are being reintroduced into the ecosystem where they belong in, but currently there's not as nearly as much as there should be, because in natural history, human beings wiped out like 90% of the population. So you guys are just trying to reintroduce that into that ecosystem because animals are a big part of the ecosystem. So, and the reason you're doing that is to fight climate change. So I'll let you talk about that a little bit. If you want to introduce yourself and your dad and what you guys are trying to do with Pleistocene Park.
Yes, I think you briefly explained everything well. My only comment is that I think population decline was way more than 90%.
Okay.
Majority of species went extinct entirely, and only few species were left and in very small numbers. So overall, I think the decline was way more than, I would rather say 99%.
Okay.
More correct than 90. Yes, so we are running the ecological project. So it's, I think the most correct term is rewilding project. It's called Pleistocene Park. So we are restoring ecosystems, high productive grazing ecosystems. Similar ecosystems used to be there in the Arctic back in Pleistocene, and at that time it was almost as rich as Serengeti in Africa, and that's something we want to restore. So we want to increase biodiversity, increase number of animals, and restore all ecological functions which used to be in this ecosystem. And these ecosystems, we believe, will be sustainable in the modern climate and be able to expand on their own. And their ecological features, let's say, are helping in many ways to mitigate climate change.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a kind of critical problem right now.
Yeah, one of the reasons it'll help mitigate climate change is because the trampling of the snow, right? Because in the documentary you explained, I think Sergey Zimov explained like how snow acts as a thermal insulator, and the hooves will break it apart. That'll keep. There
is several reasons for why these ecosystems are helpful. First of all, as you mentioned, permafrost, which is underneath the ground in our territory, it stores vast amounts of carbon. So this carbon was accumulated there back in the place when actually mammoths was roaming. So this ecosystem, when it was functioning, was absorbing and sequestering carbon and storing it in the permafrost, and in the form of roots of grasses mostly. So it's soil organic carbon. And if permafrost will store, and that's about to happen, because climate is getting warmer. It's getting warmer much more rapidly in the Arctic than the other places of the world. And temperature of permafrost is already approaching zero, and in some places it's already zero in the Arctic. And in this place, permafrost is starting to thaw. And if it will be happening everywhere, all this organic carbon will be decomposed by microbes and converted into CO2 and methane, and the Arctic may become one of the largest sources of greenhouse gases, somewhat comparable with entire anthropogenic emissions. So that's quite a big deal. One of the ways how to stop that is to try to cool down permafrost, and permafrost can be cooled down if we get rid of the snow layer which is formed in the winter, and the snow layer is acting as heat insulator, and it's getting soil and permafrost warmer than outside air. And if you get rid of the snow, then temperature of air will be, let's say, more or less, will become equal to temperature of permafrost. Temperature of air is now -8 centigrade. So the question is, how can you get rid of snow? And in this sense, we say that with animals, if you have grasses and you have good forage for animals, so animals will come to this grassland and they will dig through the snow. Oh yeah, you just started the recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, I was already recording. I just do double in case one of the audio fail. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will continue. So
I got it all.
Yeah. Basically, if animals will come into the place, they start digging through the snow, and by digging through the snow, they're compacting the snow. And instead of, let's say, half meter of snow, you get 10 to 5 centimeters of snow only. and that it loses most of its heat insulating ability. And this can prevent permafrost from degrading. That's actually the most complicated job to be done, because you need to already have good pastures and you need to have many animals. And moreover, you need to have predators who will be shepherding animals the correct way. So they will be spreading around and they will be evenly grazing on the territory. So that's the most complex thing and hard thing to achieve. There is 3 other features which are starting to act much more rapidly, and the effect which we already have in the Pleistocene Park already now. Even though we still don't have predators, we don't have enough animals right now, but we, I would say, slowly working on that. Anyway, so there are 3 main parameters. First of all, it's albedo effect. So the lighter the surface, the higher portion of energy it reflects back to space. And grasslands are much lighter comparing with shrublands and forests. And in the summer, it's a shade of green, so light green versus dark green. But for example, in the spring, in April, you get all the dark stems of large trees are getting heated by the sun enormously. And all the grasslands are still covered with snow and reflecting all the energy back to space. And you get like much, much colder temperatures. And this April, we actually had a team of specialists who did the thermal mapping and the albedo measurements in the park, and they saw that our meadows are about 5 to 8 degrees colder compared with the forest located just outside of the park. So that's a very strong effect. And the albedo effect is, I think, actually could be the strongest effect of all. So we still need to measure that, but the lighter the surface, the colder the temperature. So it's a first order effect. So if greenhouse gas is a second order effect on the temperature of the planet, because let's say our main problem is not concentration of greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases are actually very good for, let's say, the more greenhouse gas you have in atmosphere, particularly CO2 or H2O, the more productivity your ecosystems may have. So everything, all our vegetation on the planet is built out of CO2. So CO2 itself is not a problem. The problem is that it's having warming effect and high temperatures. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And if you can change albedo and lower the temperature, then your CO2 is no problem at all. So that's the first effect. Second effect, actually about CO2 and other greenhouse gases. If you will talk to any regular person on the planet, asking, name me 2 main ways how we can mitigate climate change, what will people answer you? What should we do to fight climate change? Name me 2 things. There is 2 main things which people propose. First, burn less fossil fuels.
Oh yes, for transportation.
That's kind of the reason for the climate change, the main way which everybody proposed.
Yeah.
And that's the way which still people struggling, because all these Paris agreements been signed, 9 years ago. Tokyo was, I don't know, how many years ago? Many years ago. And none of those proposals ever resulted in the curve of consumption of oil.
Yeah, they never get met.
So nothing is really changed in this sense. And second option, which people proposing, that we should plant trees, kind of the most common proposal which people say. And with trees, there is 2 things which I want to note. First of all, actually there is recently, I think in March this year, in Nature Communications was published a paper which said that actually planting trees is sequestering carbon in many places. But at the same time, this is actually lowering the albedo, which I was mentioning before. And this is pretty much balance out all the positive effects of the carbon sequestration. So in this sense, that's not very positive. And moreover, that may make sense in the southern regions, where trees are big and grow fast, and you can sequester lots of carbon in the stems of trees. But if you go to the Arctic, trees in our region are very sparse, very short, very thin, and they're growing for a very, very long time. Currently, with the climate change, it turns out that they are burning very, very rapidly and quick. And it's literally impossible to sequester any meaningful amount of carbon in the northern regions in the above ground vegetation. So all your stems of trees are not a good way to sequester carbon. You cannot sequester much. In opposite, there is actually a way to sequester a lot of carbon. The more you go to the north, the colder are your soils. The colder your soils, the less decomposition we have in this soil. And if you have ecosystem which have plants which are rapidly growing and they need a lot of water, and you have vegetation which is forming deep root systems, for example, like grasses or willow shrubs, all these plants in the summer are looking for water. They're growing their roots deep down to the permafrost, down to 1 meter depth. And in those horizons, temperatures are never above, plus 1 centigrade. There is literally nothing is decomposing there. It's like a fridge.
Mm-hmm.
It's even not a fridge, it's often a freezer.
Yeah.
It's a freezer which is turned into a fridge for several weeks a year. So nothing is decomposing there. It's like a perfect storage.
Okay.
And right now, Arctic doesn't have that much carbon in the soil because majority of ecosystems which we have there now are very low productive. There is very little roots in the deep soil horizon. So what we have now, main vegetation, I think large trees, mosses, lichens, some of the green shrubs, all of that is growing very slowly. It doesn't need much water for growing. Some of those plants don't have any roots, and others have roots only by the surface. So in the modern ecosystems, how the soil profile look like? So you have organic layer, which let's say 10, 15 centimeters, and below starts mineral layer with little to no carbon in it. And if you change the vegetation, you start getting grasses, herbs, and though they start to grow roots deep, and you start to get input of carbon deep into the ground. So with those roots, so the plant will grow the roots. The plant will die next year, for example, but the root will stay. And then the other plant will grow, and this will be constant accumulation of carbon. We have data measured in the park, also actually we did a big sampling in 2018, and now we repeated that in 2024, and we'll be looking to get into this into publication. But we are seeing that outside of the park, with climate change, ecosystems are losing carbon, and within the park, we are actually gaining carbon. So we are sequestering carbon, or CO2, converting to the carbon and storing that. And that's quite a big effect. If we get the ecosystem big enough, Arctic is big. We have potentially millions of square kilometers, which are not used in the Arctic right now, almost anyhow. And you can convert into a rich ecosystem, which will be all sequestering carbon. And the last effect, it's also related to greenhouse gas. Okay. But it's not about CO2, it's going to be about methane. Methane is very strong greenhouse gas. Like one molecule of methane is 25 or something like that times stronger greenhouse gas compared with CO2. And methane is usually produced in anaerobic conditions. If you have some soils or lakes, something that's waterlogged, if it's covered by water, if it's kind of saturated with water, if there is no oxygen, all the organic matter which is there, not all, but some of the organic matter which is there will be converted into methane. And that's a very bad thing. And right now, our world's largest methane sources are coming from different wetlands. It's either tropical wetlands or boreal wetlands. And also there in the Arctic, in our region, the climate is actually very dry. We don't have much precipitation. But because ecosystems are very low productive, because there is permafrost which doesn't allow drainage, most of our territories are water saturated. If you look at the map of the Pleistocene Park and the surrounding areas, there are like millions of lakes, land of lakes, all the soils water saturated. And all those bodies are producing and emitting methane. If you get high productive vegetation, if you get high productive ecosystem, those plants will very quickly evapotranspirate all the water which is in the ground and dry out the soils and make soils much drier, and that there will be much less methane emitted. Animals roaming on this place will compensate for part of the methane, because everybody is blaming cows. That's the reason for climate change. But cows, at least the ones we have in the Arctic now, like cows or bison or muskox which we have, all of those animals are they're emitting methane, but they are making ground much drier. And so they compensate only maybe for a quarter
Yeah.
of what would otherwise this territory need if there would be wetlands. So, kind of shortly saying, the main core features why this ecosystem is good is preservation of permafrost, so no emissions of greenhouse gas from permafrost. Albedo effect, the lighter surface, more energy back to space, colder territory. Sequestration of CO2 in the ground, that's also a very strong effect. And the last one is you minimize the amount of methane emitted, and that's also kind of building up. So all those 4 parameters, they all have different strengths, but they all are working to make this ecosystem be a kind of effective tool in fighting climate change.
Yeah, this is very interesting because I specialize in the whole, when you talked about like they blame beef. I wrote an article called Beef is Not to Blame, and I talk about regenerative cattle agriculture in that personal essay, which is also my project submission, and then I have some references down below, but I talk about like similar things, like how cattle, yeah, they emit methane, but the impact they have on the plant communities, they have a net negative. Yeah.
Let's say ideas behind Pleistocene Park is actually very close and related to this regenerative farming, or how what's the right term? Yeah. So I think probably you heard about, I don't know, Island Savory Institute.
Yep. I use a lot of the resources and references at the savory.global website because Alan Savory, he's kind of leading, he was the pioneer of that regenerative farming. Yeah, it's very similar because it's like ecosystem reconstruction for the benefit of mankind, or humankind.
So our ideas are very close to them, which one are different. So they are working on farm, they are working in the kind of agricultural land, and they are trying to find ways how to teach humans to shepherd animals the best way possible. And we, in turn, we are making a kind of wild ecosystem where the role of shepherd will be given to predators. Because let's say humans started agriculture and started ranching, let's say, I don't know, roughly 10,000 years ago. We are still not very good at that.
Yeah, definitely.
Our Savory is pretty much probably the first team of people who started to try to work and make the best practices. And there's still, I think, there is still many things to learn. So what we're doing is great thing, but still humans are very far behind. And predators in shepherding animals and making sure that there is no overgrazing. And the main issue is overgrazing. If you have overgrazing somewhere, that kind of destroys the soil. If you don't have overgrazing, if you have evenly, if let's say all your above ground vegetation is eaten evenly, if there is no overgrazing anywhere, you get your soil kind of regenerated and developed. And that's kind of the main issue. Here we say that, let's say we are working in very, very remote places. There is no agriculture possible, and there is nothing, no profitable business is really possible in this land. So we can return back to the nature, restore the nature, and let the nature be, show how effective it can be. And there is still many things we can learn from the nature. So overall, all these regenerative farmers are our allies, in terms of because we are talking about the same idea.
Yeah, exactly. I like that they all kind of support each other. It's not like a competition like any other industry, like the tech industry. It would be competing, but here it's kind of like one wave. But you said you want to introduce predators to help keep them moving so they don't overgraze sections of grass. 2 questions: which predators do you want to include, and what are the current predator species in like that area, Pleistocene Park area?
So I think let's say back in the Pleistocene times, our main creatures in the ecosystem used to be, of the herbivores, it was mammoth, bison, horses, and reindeer. So that was like the 4 main species. Actually, right now in Africa, we have, let's say, somewhat similar assemblage of animals. So there is elephants, the bull, antelope, and zebra. And zebra is a horse, mammoth is elephant, so they have the same assemblage of professions. And of the predators, predators, we had wolves, and we had so-called cave lion.
That's big.
I don't know why it was called cave lion. First of all, I have never seen a cave in our region. That's the first thing that strikes me. And secondly, I was once communicating with one big American geneticist, Beth Shapiro, and she told me that there was reconstruction of the genome of this cave lion, which lived in Siberia, and appeared it's like 100% identical to the genome of African lion.
Okay.
So what we had back there in the past was just a regular African lion. It's called Africa, not because it's African, but because it's persisted only in Africa till nowadays. Because even in historical times, lions lived in Eastern Europe. So in territory of Russia, lions used to live, and then they went extinct.
So cave lion is 100% similar genome to African lion genome?
Yes. Well, according to Beth Shapiro.
Okay.
That's what she told me. And in general, I trust that. That was, let's say, there was huge ecosystems. And for animals, weather conditions are not as critical as as forage, food. If there's enough food, animals adapt to temperatures very well. If there is enough energy, they grow fur and they look. I think in Africa they have only head with lots of fur. And back in the time, I think they were very fluffy.
So the cave lion is one target predator species you want?
Well, we don't know. We may be thinking about lions, either lions or tiger. Amur tiger is another species, which is now very endangered species.
Oh, yeah, that would be beneficial, yeah.
Yeah, and they are kind of almost extinct because there is nothing to eat in their natural habitat.
Yeah. Oh, that's another added bonus.
Yeah.
Of adding a bunch of animals that would help add the food supply for endangered species. Overall, after watching the Vice documentary, I'm like 100% on board I on this idea. Like, I just wish you guys get all the support you need to fully tackle it hard, because people say Sergey Zimov is a polarizing figure and all this, but I don't understand, because if you just look at the science behind it, you're basically trying to terraform a section of the Earth for the benefit of the environment. And there's a conversation about terraforming Mars and other planets, and it's like, I think we should focus on just terraforming some part of Earth before we think about all that, like prioritize that, because I remember Sergey said in the documentary, like, you guys aren't creating something, you're not playing God, you're just rebuilding what was destroyed by humans and altered by humans. Yeah.
That's the logical. The problem that many people are skeptical. So we are slowly gaining attention of people, and we are slowly gaining more and more support, and more people kind of start to trust the idea more. First of all, there is very slowly, but kind of new scientific knowledge is building up on this topic, and there is some scientists who are working on that. And not only in the park, in other places, showing that rewilding is kind of good thing. Like, for example, Savory is also working on this kind of same idea, and they also have lots of resistance, and not everybody believes them.
Exactly.
So, and that's the problem. And with Pleistocene Park, it's the same thing. There is some people skeptical. Some people think that it's too hard of a task. Some people don't believe that it will bring kind of enough ecological profit. Some people don't believe that the ecosystems can be sustainable. Some people just think that what we have right now is ecosystems which we have right now are the wild ecosystems, and we should protect them. There is kind of many people who kind of don't really trust that.
Yeah.
But it's slowly we kind of getting up the momentum in this.
One thing it reminded me of when you said predators will keep the herbivores moving and not allow overgrazing, is the specific example is reintroduction of gray wolves, Canis lupus, into Yellowstone. And that's been documented to have really positive effects on the ecology of the park. Like, it basically did the same thing you said with the elk herds and the bison herds. They kept them, mainly the elk, kept them moving, and overgrazed patches regrew in like the span of 2 decades, completely regrew, and which created shelters for smaller species, beavers and smaller mammals and birds, because those bushes had been trimmed down by the elk to like very much overgrazed. But then the reintroduction of wolves just balanced it all out, and it just everything flourished again. So that's like a really good example of what can be done if you just let nature do its thing.
The problem with this reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone is that back when they were planning to reintroduce them, I'm sure that none of the specialists really knew what cascade of effects the wolves would do. So now, let's say, they figure out all the positive cascades, they post factum. So let's say 20 years later, they looked at the effects and counted them. But at the time when they were introducing those animals, wolves, it was pretty much I think it was enthusiasm of some small group of people who decided to take a risk and do that. I don't know how exactly it was. I'm not into history of that, but that would be my wild guess. And issue is that we know very little, not kind of we as Pleistocene Park, but we as humans know actually very little about function of ecosystems, of all its kind of interactions between all the elements of the ecosystem. Yeah. And we cannot model the behavior of ecosystems very well still. So many things, for example, with what we do in the park, it's the same thing. Say, oh, let's try this animal. How it will work. Oh, let's try this animal. Oh, let's try with this plant. Oh, let's try to do some management of the ground. Let's see how it will, what effect it will have. So what we do in the park is not only trying to kind of create this national park, bring animals. It's we are building up, let's say, enough information on how the ecosystems kind of interact, and how elements of the ecosystems interact, and how different, not only elements, including animals, vegetation, insects, many things. Let's say we don't know how exactly. We still don't know how exactly the high productive grazing ecosystem, or sustainable productive grazing ecosystem in the Arctic should look like.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Because there is can be, for example, everybody's talking about elephants or mammoths. Like, oh, kind of mammoths, how critical are them? Maybe kind of they can be the critical element in the ecosystem. It's possible, but very possible, very likely that the limiting factor may be the bee or the dung beetle. So some insects, which are kind of, so you have what's the idea behind what's the term high productive grazing ecosystem? It's a rate of nutrients, of cycling of nutrients. So in the low productive ecosystem, your molecule of nitrogen is circulating through the ecosystem very slowly. It's very slowly getting picked up. It's getting decomposed forever, and it's taking a while. In the high productive ecosystems, the main idea is rapid cycling of all the nutrients. So everything that something should be growing up rapidly. It should grow up rapidly because there is enough fertilizers in the soil, so enough nutrients in the soil. So it's built up quickly. It should be quickly eaten up. It should be quickly converted into, dung. This dung should be entering the ground. In the ground, it should be quickly taken down back to the root. So you need to have some insect or some microbe, which should accelerate this kind of decomposition of the dung and
the detrivores
to make it, So that's kind of the main idea, and you have to work on kind of making sure that everywhere in every element there will be a kind of rapid thing. Because if one of the elements will be missing, your entire chain will break or cycle will break.
Yeah, because you need that energy flow in the ecosystem. Yeah, I had a couple questions to just some basic questions on how many acres is Pleistocene Park right now, and what is
acres. I think acres is 1 hectare is 3 acres, something like that.
Oh yeah, sorry, I should have searched that up.
Yeah.
Or maybe you could say square kilometers. That could be enough.
So our entire territory which we own is around 150 square kileters.
150 square
of that, right now, we have only 10% of that we have fenced right now. So right now we have only 15 square kilometers fenced. We are now working on building the fence around the entire territory. So that's something on our kind of agenda right now. And we are kind of in the middle of process of doing so.
I was supposed to ask this question earlier on in the interview, but a little bit about you is I saw in the documentary that at first you wanted to be a mathematician, but then you decided instead to help your dad in creating Pleistocene Park. So what made you make that decision to switch?
I ended up in the math department of my university, which I finished. It was, let's say, a series of kind of circumstances which led me to math department. I never really wanted to be a mathematician, and I think my dad invited me to come back to the Arctic when I was in the first year of university of studying. So I left home when I was 14. I was studying in high school in Novosibirsk, away from home. And when I finished high school, it was kind of high school attached to the university. So the high school was on campus of the big university. And if you kind of finish high school well, you automatically get invited to the university. You get a free acceptance. And I could pass to I could enter two departments with my grades. It could be either math department or geological, geophysical department. And math department, it was quite prestigious. And many of my friends went to math department. And geological, geophysical department wasn't as prestigious. And also it had a reputation that on this department, everybody drinks.
Yeah.
You know, it's very common in Russia that all this kind of natural science people are kind of heavy drinkers from early years.
Natural science sector?
Well, geologists, people who get to expeditions, like that. Everybody starts drinking. That's a very common thing.
Okay. And then you transitioned to Pleistocene Park idea because of the information your dad was giving you?
Let's say, my dad invited me to return back to the research station.
Okay.
So Pleistocene Park was always just one of the experiments which was conducted on our research station. This is the largest experiment, but still, so our research station is doing many research, hydrology, permafrost studies, atmospheric studies, greenhouse gases, ecology, paleontology, many things which our station been involved. And Park was one of the jobs which I took. And I finished university, returned back to the station, started working there and switched from math to ecology. And started doing science, started to do some kind of management and logistics for the station and for the park. And just slowly, year by year, I was taking more and more activities until, I think about 10 years ago, I picked up all the activities from the station and in the park. So since that moment, I'm pretty much solely running the research station in the park. Okay,
gotcha. And this Northeast Science Station, this is like scientists come and they stay there and like they pay rent and then they do scientific research. What kind of research is done exactly? Is it ecological, like in the surrounding ecosystem, or?
Yeah, majority. So it's kind of measurements in the modern ecosystem. And I pretty much named them already. Hydrology, carbon cycling, permafrost.
Yeah. Because I would like to see when I can, I would like to sign up for that to come visit and, because I'm a grad student in Miami University pursuing a conservation biology degree. It's a master's degree. So I don't know how it goes. I don't know how to sign up, but I would like to just apply to come visit and research there just for the experience.
Yeah, we hope that in the future it will be possible.
It seems really cool. The location is like in a forest. You said you guys have wolves in the forest?
We do have wolves in the region. However, I personally never met a wolf in the wildlife.
Oh yeah, they're
I
elusive.
saw one wolf from the airplane. That's all. So I know there is some wolves and some there kind of following some wild reindeer.
Okay.
But wild reindeers are also not very big numbers. So
and
we rarely have any wolves.
Any bears, brown bears at all?
Yeah, we do have brown bears. Yeah.
Okay.
Brown bears are there, and also we have some brown bears in the park.
Okay. One other question I had was, are you guys working directly right now with Colossal Biosciences? Because
we cannot work with them directly.
Okay.
But if we are doing ecosystems and they are doing genetics.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We have totally different instrumentation, but we communicate, not much, but let's say they are clearly our allies, and we are friends with them. And I personally know George, and they've been on on Zoom with Ben Lam several times, and they also really looking forward for opportunity to visit Pleistocene Park.
Yeah.
George been in the Pleistocene Park himself, and
I saw him in the documentary. Yeah. I'm reading his book, Regenesis. It's very interesting, and and Beth Shapiro is also in Colossal Biosciences, I believe, right?
By the time I was talking with her, and she wasn't yet there, and Colossal still didn't exist. She was in some I forgot the name, in one California in the US. She was a professor.
Okay. The Kickstarter that you started and raised over $100,000, that was really successful. So how did that, you created that and then it worked, or do you think people donated because of other reasons like vice?
It was really a pain in the ass.
Oh.
It's a horrible, it's very complicated experience, and we did, I think, so we had 2 crowdfunding campaigns, one on Kickstarter, one on Indiegogo, and we do have a running campaign on Patreon, so where people can subscribe.
Oh, I'm subscribed to that, yeah.
Yeah, so that's something we still have running, yeah. With Kickstarter, let's say, that was my first experience, and I was sure that it's going to be super, super easy to raise money for campaign, and I was like, okay, we need to raise money and then to make expeditions. So expeditions are very complicated to do it. It's kind of hard to make logistically, and it's lots of problems. And I was sure that we will raise money easily, but then the expeditions will be hard. And it turned out vice versa. I think normally for your campaign to be successful in Kickstarter, you need to raise like 30% in the first 3 days.
Oh, wow.
And we raised, in this sense, probably we will make it normally the campaigns are like 30 to 40 days, and if you raise 30% in the first 3 days, probably you'll be successful, and you will kind of hit the sum. And we in the first 3 days had like 10%, so we were very much behind, and it was very, very complicated, and we were trying kind of to push, contact everybody we could, and it was a very long and complicated month, and we finally succeeded. And we raised enough money.
Wow. Just through asking numerous people?
First of all, let's say I was sure it would be easy because we started the campaign simultaneously. Let's say 3 days before that, there was an article in the Atlantic magazine about Pleistocene Park. It was like a long, 10,000 words, and very, very, very well written paper, and it's probably one of the most impactful media about the Pleistocene Park. It's not the most impactful.
Well, which media was that?
Atlantic magazine.
Okay.
Yeah, you can actually find it. I think you can find it online.
I think I stumbled upon. There's a picture of a mammoth artwork on it. I have to finish reading it, but I know which one you're talking about.
It doesn't have any pictures. It's a very well written and very well done article, and this actually had a huge impact, and a lot of media came to the Pleistocene Park after reading that, so it's created kind of the blast. And then there was also a story in Vice, not this one, but actually, so there was actually a Vice team coming to the Pleistocene Park and doing, 15 or 20 minutes episodes. And I was sure that this will kind of create enough media attention, and that was very wrong. Well, anyway, finally we kind of reached our goal. We were very happy. And then kind of the expeditions went very well, easy. At least one of them, with the yaks, and we brought them and there was no problem. With bison, it took us at least 2 more years to get the bison finally to the park. That was, you could see it in the movie with Luke. I think he covered all this.
Oh yeah, the Denmark, right? The Denmark.
Yeah, so we tried with Alaska and it didn't work.
Okay.
And actually, so we were trying to rent one very old DC-4 airplane to take to the Pleistocene Park. Yeah, and we kind of paid the money, and it was almost already kind of ready, and then they flaked. And I think like 2 weeks ago there was a news that actually kind of this exact plane had a crash in Alaska.
Oh man!
And all pilots died.
That's unfortunate.
Plane was destroyed. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that was a complicated thing to achieve.
Oh yeah. But okay, so the very first publicity you guys received, would you say is like magazines and articles, or because I know there's like a CNN 60 Minutes. How did CNN find about you, and what was the first few things that got your publicity?
No, the publicity, very first publicity was still in the early 2000s.
Okay.
In 2005, my dad published an article in Science magazine about Pleistocene Park, and there was some media coming. Started 2005, I think. International media started to come, maybe even a little bit earlier.
Okay.
So CNN, with CNN, CBS, 60 Minutes News, right?
I thought it was CNN. Let me check.
No, it's not CNN. I think it's CBS or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry. I'm mainly on YouTube, but yes, 60 Minutes.
Yeah, so apparently that's like kind of the most watched Sunday news in the United States, according to the kind of statistics. And when this team was coming, I was pretty much sure that, it's going to be a life changer in terms of that. So we will start getting lots of support from that. Kind of finally, next day after the TV show, the only reaction I could notice is that we had 10 extra subscribers on Instagram. That was literally.
Oh man.
There wasn't any reaction on the movie. So
wow.
And it was super expensive. For example, Luke movie, when it went to YouTube, it gets a big impact. Then there is some other kind of channel on YouTube actually made quite a big impact. And it's kind of surprising that, this old-fashioned media, and newspapers, magazines, and TV channels, in my experience so far, they have very, very little impact. At least no direct impact.
Yeah. I was gonna suggest. I don't know if this will be possible, but I think it's worth emailing. Do you know mrbeast, YouTuber?
Probably no.
If anybody can raise awareness and raise your following base, is him, because he's the biggest YouTuber in America, and I think he's top 5 in the world. But whenever he partners with somebody, he can make them really. He can move viewers to different people, different businesses. But his name's mrbeast. He does a lot of crazy experiments, and he can definitely. I have no doubt he can't do it, but he's hard to contact. He's like Dwayne Johnson level famous right now. But
it's kind of. First of all, we were never looking for media ourselves. It's always kind of media was finding us, and I think that's
okay.
I'm going to say this way. So if his managers will contact us, we will be happy to communicate, of course.
Yeah, I have no doubt he can help even raise funds for you, because he raised $20 million for planting trees throughout the USA, which is I wish he would do more work with more scientists, so he would understand ecological principles more, so then he could pump those millions of dollars in a better way for the environment. Because just planting trees, he basically just planted trees in grass areas near parking lots and those type of areas throughout America, and they planted millions of trees. But they got the funding for it because he's got the viewership for sure. He's got 200 million subscribers. Elon Musk donated 1 million himself. It was a crazy event. But they're trying to do it for the environment, but you need to create fully functional ecosystems, big ecosystems, the Pleistocene Park. This is going to be a grassland ecosystem for the most part.
Mostly, it's combination. Let's say, according to what we see, in our most kind of nicest place we get, it's not really a grassland. It's more like savanna.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So it's a combination of grasslands and shrublands.
Okay.
So it's.
I see.
It's an open landscape with kind of some patchy shrublands, and actually, in my personal vision, savanna is much nicer compared with grasslands, because in grasslands you get lots of wind, especially in the winter. Imagine kind of the vast territory without any trees or barriers to stop the wind. It's going to be shitty place. So we better try to make savanna, where there is some patches of shrubs, sometimes patches of forest.
And there's less wind because of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we're kind of, if you go to the tundra, so our park is located in the forest zone. We don't have that much wind. But if you go to tundra in the winter, it's snow drift.
Yeah, I saw in the documentary you're riding boats to different areas to capture deer, reindeer, and stuff, and then bringing them back. And I saw how dangerous and hard those journeys were. You guys are still doing those little mini expeditions and stuff to get animals in?
Well, let's see. Problem that now our expeditions are getting, as we get more skilled at that, our expeditions get more and more complex.
Okay.
Tomorrow I will be flying to Moscow, and from Moscow I will go to city by the Volga River, where we will be picking up 16 camels.
Oh, wow.
And taking them to the park. And then approximately, we are hope to get at the same time bison, but bison probably getting delayed by several days at least. And there will be interest coming from Europe, also from the same park.
Mm-hmm.
And our main kind of issue and challenge right now that I just returned from Vladivostok, where we are preparing our 20-meter boat, which we are rebuilding to turn it. It was used to be a Kalmari fishing vessel, and we are turning it into a muskox transporter. So making it a kind of expedition vessel. And from Vladivostok, we have to take it all the way to Chersky, which is about 8,000 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
And there we'll be loading specialists and some kind of vehicles and all the gear, and taking about 2,000 kilometers along the coast.
Oh, wow.
To the island where the muskox and unload and go and catch those muskox and tranquilize them and transport them and load them in this boat and taking them back to the park. So
that's a lot of work, yeah.
The expedition which we are preparing right now is kind of, I can't think of more complicated expedition.
Okay, well, I hope it goes well. Since
I don't know how it will go, but we will try.
Since the Vice documentary, has the number of animals on your land increased significantly?
Not like significantly, slowly. So we have kind of a more or less limited territory, and as animals graze, they slowly increase the productivity of territory.
Yeah.
So the eating up shrublands, the landscape opens up, kind of they fertilize the ground, and grasses start to grow better. So slowly, year by year, you get productivity increase, and this can be followed by increasing number of animals.
Okay. Another question I had is, your dad, in the documentary, at one point, they were kind of talking about like his lifestyle of hunting, fishing, and he showed like him fishing and showed the beautiful forests. It's just a beautiful landscape, and Sergey Zimov said like this place is only for romantics, and I just like that because I also am kind of romantic in terms of like I want to create the best situation and pursue my dreams and all that, and I also am a hunter and fisher. In Michigan we have a lot of opportunities for that, so I'm an outdoorsman as well, so I resonated with that. Do you guys like hunt regularly, or is that part of your lifestyle, or hunt and fish?
When I was a kid, I was a really big fan of fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Like really big fan of fishing. And, But I think by the time I grew up, I already fueled my fishing desire. So I spend hours and hours every day. So I'm living next to the river.
Yeah.
So I was every day I was coming back from school and going and kind of drilling the hole in the ice and doing the
ice fishing.
On the right fish. Yeah, ice fishing. Then in the summer, just regular fishing on the shore.
Yeah.
And so there's many opportunities. And also in the park, you can catch. We have enormous amounts of number of pike.
Wow.
In our kind of region, and with that it's kind of pike are
Yeah, they're dangerous too.
How big pike.
And if they bite you, it's bad.
Yeah, and I think one of my mechanics, he caught like 37 pike in 1 hour.
Wow.
And you just throw the pole, throw kind of the hook, and like instantly you get a pike on it. Like, and every time you throw, you get the pike. That's the way how we feed our dogs in the winter. So we put this pike in the freezer and kind of in the cave. So we have this permafrost cave in the park, and we just put all the pike there and freezes, and then throughout the winter we give these pike to dogs. In terms of hunting, no, I don't hunt. So, and in Michigan, the situation with animals is not as bad as in our region. So all our animals are in very, very small numbers, and I'm spending enormous amounts of my resources, all possible resources, to get increased number of animals here.
Yeah,
it
that's
makes very little sense if I will be hunting. So no, I'm actually quite opposed to hunting.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I recently got into it. I've only hunted a few birds, so this fall I should be hunting white-tailed deer with my friend who's already done it, just for the experience, because I don't want to support like factory farming when I go to the store and buy meat in the packaged meat, So
yeah, that's but that's a very complicated issue. From one point, hunting can be beneficial, and the kind of hunting industries can actually support the wildlife.
Yeah.
But that's this really have to be kind of regulated. And at the moment, let's say, I think not on my lifetime.
Yeah.
It will be possible to hunt in kind of our ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. And if anything, I try to purchase regenerative meat farmed in a way that mimics nature. Like Alan Savory, he always says regenerative rotational grazing mimics herd behavior. So that's kind of like the type of meat I support. I never really eat fast food anymore, because everything I'm working on is like, I would be the biggest hypocrite if I was just consuming that type of meat. But yeah, I think I got the major questions out of the way, but one last question was, you guys publish scientific data and articles to like as peer-reviewed literature. I see some on Google Scholar. So to be able to do that, you need to be a scientist. And like, how do you get like an article that you wrote to be on those databases? Just submit it, or because I'm curious on. Okay.
Yeah, you just would say you just submit. We are working. I'm employed by Russian Academy of Sciences Institute. And every time I publish something, I am stating that I'm from this institution, and we used to collaborate with many scientists. Science is a very international thing, so we have collaborators, and we've been writing articles with hundreds and hundreds of scientists from all over the world.
Okay, yeah, because I want to eventually put some of my work up on there. And I'm actually using one of your guys' articles. I forgot where it is, but it's going to be in the references section for this semester synthesis paper, because this semester I'm specializing. My topic is pastoralists, because this semester we're going to Kenya, Africa, and we have to select a topic out of a list of like 40 different topics, and I chose landscape ecology and how that's affected by agriculture, because the Maasai pastoralists, they're always thinking of ways to make it sustainable, their cattle agriculture. So different ways. Rotational grazing is huge. And then your paper, you guys were talking about animal impact on the environment, and there were some things that I would like to include. So I think it's cool. Like I'm going to include you. I think your dad was an author as well. But yeah, this summer I should be with Maasai tribe, and we're working directly with. We're going to be on Maasai owned land and camping in tents. So this will be a crazy experience for me. Last summer I was in Brazil. This is where I got this from. This is a cowhide from a local shop in Brazil. But yeah, I'm very excited because we're going to be in tents, and I heard that you get woken up by lion roars out in the distance, and then it's hard to fall back asleep. It's like a dream come true for me, because I watch these wildlife documentaries of Africa since I was a child. And again, I'm very thankful that you accepted the interview, because I know I'm still a small channel, but I'm very amazed by the project Pleistocene Park overall, and I'm sure the viewers will learn a lot from this conversation. I'm building my YouTube following, and I'm creating a short documentary right now. I have the notebook here. The short documentary I'm going to submit to film festivals, but at the same time I'm popping out YouTube videos, just trying to raise my following, because I'm trying to use the following to raise awareness and raise maybe funds for a conservation project as well. So yeah, I've been doing this for 1.5 years right now, just learning how to create better videos, and I'm going to keep going with it. So again, thank you for doing this interview. I know you're probably very busy, so thank you.
No worries.
Yeah.
Okay, have a nice day.
Yeah, you as well. Have a good flight tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Maybe we can talk again on another interview.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Nikita. Bye.